All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is April Ellis. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a horticultural therapist. I'm a clinic director at LE Mental Health. Tina, can you turn on the sharing? I've got things to share during this
Yep.
presentation.
Second. One
Um,
second.
yeah, so I'm a therapist and I work at a clinic filled with therapists, some licensed, some working on getting their license. And we do individual psychotherapy. And people have different specialties, right? My specialty includes using horticultural therapy as one of my modalities. And horticultural therapy is the use of nature and plants and gardening um, in combination with traditional therapy to produce the effects you're looking for, right? An alleviation of depression, a decrease in anxiety, a sense of well-being, of calm, of peace, which is especially needed this time of year and with all that's going on in the world right now. And as I understand it, you all just came from a presentation on scams and the scary, scary things that are out there. I'd like you all to take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We're gonna do a little bit of mindfulness. And I've got a lot of great things to talk about and show you today. And as usual, I've done this a couple times now, and this is the presentation gets much more interesting the more you interact with it. So I've got my little chat window open here. And if you have comments or thoughts or questions for any of this, or just general therapy questions, right up my alley, here to help. My background is working in the hospital. I worked at CPMC in the psychiatric hospital there, worked at the Jewish Home Acute Geriatric Psychiatric Hospital. So I've got good knowledge of hospital stuff and outpatient stuff. So I'm here to help. And I'm going to share with you here. This is where I work. And I'll put this up at the end of the presentation as well. We do therapy for folks of all ages, but myself and several folks specialize in working with people 55 and older, both in person in our beautiful offices. I'm in my beautiful office today. We're in Redwood City. A lot of light, a lot of windows, and or via telehealth, which works really well as well. So that's us. I'll put it up again. The end, closer to the end of the presentation. Yeah. So questions you have about therapy, stick them in the chat. So it's January. Here we are a couple weeks into January. We're coming out of the holidays, which can be a really stressful time for folks. It's still getting dark around 5:30, right? Which can be really sad for many of us, right? The seasonal affective disorder, or SAD for short, is a real thing for us humans. The light, the natural light that hits our rods and cones in our eyes, that stimulates our hormone glands to produce the good feeling dopamine chemicals, it's all connected. So it's not surprising that the winter blues is a chemical thing. It's not just that, the holidays were frustrating or family members were hard to deal with or disappointing. You're going through chemical changes in the winter time, which is normal for us humans to do. So I invite you to embrace that the winter blahs aren't necessarily that there's something horribly wrong, right? In our current society, it's and especially the commercial folks, they want you to think that you should be happy all the time. and have all kinds of methods for you to buy to be happy all the time. But we humans are, organic things, just like trees, just like critters. And nobody looks at a tree, a deciduous tree, right? So that loses its leaves in the wintertime and looks at it and says, wow, that must be depressed. It must be depressed. That must be why it lost all of its leaves. No, it's just the season and it's part of its cycle, right? Those leaves aren't made to last forever. And once they fall down, they help with nutrients of the roots for that tree. And as we've talked before, wind and the bad weather that happens in the wintertime helps the tree build resilience, right? Trees that are buffeted from the wind do not grow deep roots. So we need some resistance sometimes in our life to help us grow deep roots, to build resilience, which is the knowledge and the power to know that we can get through difficult times. And most of us are able to look back on times in our lives that were troubling, right? Difficult times. And that can be a source of strength, right? Went through bad times, got through it, got out on the other side of it, or at least got past the worst of it. Important to remember those things, that you are a resilient critter. And that just like the leaves on the tree, that things don't stay bad forever. Now they may not be great, right? But there's a natural cycle to things. Yeah. Now, there are things that can help you get through the winter, blahs, right? When you're not getting as much sun as you would during the summertime months, right? And aren't we lucky here in California? Whew. No rain recently, which is a little disconcerting, but it's nice to have the sunshine to help us lift our moods. Fresh air is another thing that helps lift our moods and combat seasonal affective disorder. And that could be opening up a window or opening up the door or going out on the porch and spending 5 minutes bundled up in your coat, just breathing deeply, right? Bring in that fresh air and then get back in where it's warm. Or even better, take a walk around the block. The research that comes out is that it's not running marathons that if you're over 65, running marathons is not necessarily what's going to make you healthier, right? It's consistent, gentle exercise. So I know that sometimes there's chair yoga here, which is marvelous, right? But I would advocate for getting outside and smelling the fresh air and taking just a gentle walk somewhere for 15 minutes. That'll help the seasonal affective disorder. So there's a theory called biophilia, which is the theory that we humans are naturally interested in growing things, in living things that are growing, because our ancestors down through the ages, the ones who paid attention to plants and animals, were the ones who lived, who didn't eat the wrong things, who didn't get killed by the animals and passed their genes down to us. So that we're naturally attracted to it. So as you're going for that walk around the block, right? Paying attention to which trees have dropped their leaves, paying attention to the borders or the flowers that are there, or what seems to be look dead from above. But like we talked last time, there's usually a lot going on below the soil when a plant looks like there's nothing going on above the soil. Yeah. We talked about mint growth last time, right? The mint in the wintertime, my mint looks like this. I went to pick some this morning. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's all sticks, it's all stems, and it looks dead above. However, what's actually going on is below the surface, this is sticking into the ground here. Below the surface, the roots are alive and well and taking over. Honestly, mint is like bamboo. It just takes off. It's going to pop up on the other side of my yard because it has gone down and it's at the moment tunneling over there. So sometimes growth and development and expansion is not visible, or in a metaphorical sense, it's happening in in your subconscious, right? Just like you're growing those deeper roots of resilience. That's all happening, usually not at a conscious level, but at a deeper level. Oh, so let's take some deep cleansing breaths here, right? When you breathe in through your nose and try and fill up those lungs till, oh, that was so full. And then you exhale out through the mouth. And you exhale and exhale. You try to get all the air out of those lungs and then inhale. Yeah. And you can do that on your own, or there's I got all kinds of nifty things on my desk. All kinds of nifty things that you can use that are made just for this device type of thing. So this is a little owl that turns colors, and you inhale on one color. Yeah, hold it and then exhale. Kind of nice. You don't have to do any counting. And you can set your timer about that. Less time, it happens quicker, or it happens faster or slower. You can set it to your own. There's even music you can have on there. Amazon, filled with all kinds of, no music. Okay. Yes. All right. Put the little owl down. So deep breathing, bringing oxygen into your lungs, into the cells in your body, is a way of combating the wintertime blahs and starting the new year, right? Oxygen stimulates the brain, new ideas, gets that dopamine moving. So deep breaths. And the thing is that when we are scared, we automatically breathe shallow and fast. And that tells there's a good reason for it, right? If your mind says there is something to be fearful of, your body goes into, I need to be prepared. I need to get oxygen to my cells so that I can run or defend myself, or all that fight or flight, right? But it's also telling your subconscious there is danger, right? So if you find yourself breathing shallow or quickly, that's the chance for you to go, I'm in kind of autopilot here. I'm thinking about scary things, and goodness knows there's plenty of scary things to think about. I'm thinking about scary things, and my body is reacting that way, like there is a threat right here, right now. Which, take a moment, take a deep breath, look around you. Most of us are not in imminent danger right now, right? Our brain is doing a great job of thinking about the future and what could happen and all the scary things. And that's its job, right? To a part of our brain, the limbic system part of our brain. That's its job, to look out for scary things that could happen in the future. But the problem is that staying in that mode, and many of us get stuck there, does not help you in the moment, where you look around, there's no imminent danger right here, right now, right? And the things I'm thinking about are largely things that haven't happened, things that could happen, and many times things that I have no power over, which is a hard thing for us to really accept also, right? So our brain many times puts us in the future, worrying about what could happen, or locks us back in the past. What did happen? Chewing over old interactions or memories or things that happened, and all the things that our brain tells us about those interactions, usually negative. Most of us have a harsh critic that sits not far off our shoulder and judges and criticizes what we think, what we do, all kinds of stuff, works overtime. And that's a critic, that's a little voice that you inherited from those people you grew up with. And they inherited it from the people they grew up with, right? It's called transgenerational trauma. And, we've been surviving for a long time, and some of those traumas have just been passed down from generation to generation. What's exciting about this current time is now we're both more aware of that passage of trauma from the past generations to the current generations down to the future generations. We're able to heal some of those traumas and stop it from continuing to roll into the new generations, which excites me to no end. I got to tell you that some of those negative things that your generation, that my generation has dealt with for a long time, may not be transmitted to generations in the future, which is exciting. New growth may not have the same impediment. So we talked about getting fresh air, doing deep breathing, deep, slow breathing when you find that you're panting a little bit or thinking fearfully because you're in the future or you're in the past, right? But the present is actually a pretty safe, pretty nice place. Yeah. So mindfulness is the study of, is actually the practice of being in the moment, right? Being in the moment. And that can happen really easily with nature and plants and animals. If you've got cat, dog, hamster, rat, any spiders that you like, anything that can attract your interest, right? I've got with me here today, I do horticulture therapy classes on Thursday, and so I always have leftover plants and things. Um, uh, Looking at the things around you, using your senses and as many of the senses as you can, it's great for mindfulness, right? It brings us out of our head, just a lot of talk, 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 and into our senses, which are very much in the here and now, right? I'm seeing things right now. I'm not seeing the future right now. I'm not seeing the past. I'm seeing that this is here right now. I'm smelling it here and now. It brings us into the present, right? I'm bringing some of that fascination and curiosity. Mindfulness also involves a lot of curiosity. So your brain, instead of thinking, no, this is going to happen, setting your brain to the task of thinking about the present, right? What kind of flower is this? I wonder, I mean, it looks like a rose to me, right? But what kind of rose? And the reason I love this rose, I don't know if you can see it, but it's not just, it seems to be kind of cleft in the middle here. So it's almost like it's two roses. That's wild. I've never seen that before on a rose. Yeah. And looking at just one of the petals and the veins on the petals. And is it different on this side than on that side? Oh, it's got a big dent in it there. Yeah. One of the things I like to do with roses is if you cup your hand like this, right, keeping a hole there in the center, and you take your petal and you put it right there with the dip being over the hole, and you pop it, you can pop the center right out, just like that. Isn't that wild? Wouldn't recommend for all your roses, but it's a fun thing to do when you've got roses. Yeah, I wonder where the leaves went on this. How old it is. I wonder if I chop it off, if it'll continue to get water. Yeah, or what's in the middle, down in the middle there. Oh, look, the stems, the pistils and stamen, all down in there. Yeah. So while we were looking at this flower, right, wondering about its color, its size, its shape, and all what you could do with it, right? My mind wasn't in the future and it wasn't in the past. It was very much in the present. And I have people sometimes say, yeah, but then it's over and then I'm back to worrying again. So life is about, one moment at a time. right? So it's the critic that says, well, it didn't last, so I guess it doesn't work. Not true, right? In that moment, you were in the present. And the more you do it, like all things, the more you do it, the easier it is to drop into the present instead of being focused on the future or on the past, right? So that's visual stuff. Also a nifty thing to do is using your sense of smell. Here in California, we've got so many things that smell good, right? What's this? Anybody know what kind of herb this is? You can put it in the chat. Smells good. Yeah. If you rub it. Rosemary. Thank you, Sandy. It's rosemary. You're absolutely right. Nice culinary rosemary growing in my backyard in San Mateo. Yep. Oh, and then also in my backyard, it's getting a little wilted. Anybody know what this is? Yeah. Good job, Beatrice. Yes, rosemary on that other one. This one looks like what? Yeah. There's a note from Sandy saying, sometimes life has a way of sending bad news to us. How do we stay optimistic? That's a great question. Yes. So when life sends us bad news, and please put your comments in the chat. Would love to hear them. What you do when bad news has come to you to help stay to stay out of, sometimes they call it that negative spiral where and negative rumination. You're just kind of going round and round about the negative thing. Yeah. So mindfulness is part of combating that bad news, right? Because many times bad news will your little harsh critic, right? Little guy sitting on your shoulder here that says, I told you so. I told you this was going to happen and it was going to be bad and yada, 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 which is not helpful in any way, right? But he can be pretty loud. To combat that is being in the present, right? So let's say, I've had a lot of deaths in my immediate family here in the last 6 months. And so bad news all around, or difficult news, or sad news, right? The one way to deal with it is to be present and to hold the sadness. Where's my rock? I don't have my rock with me. I've got a rock in my office is like this big. And when I have bad news, I go and I hold my rock because it's physicalizing the way I feel, which can be very helpful, right? If you're feeling agitated, shaking, voluntarily shaking can be good. If you're feeling down, holding something heavy or solid, or like when I'm feeling inert and down, I hold this great big rock in my lap and it's smooth. It's a river rock, and I just be with it. I be with it. So have you ever heard the phrase, what you resist persists, right? So there's studies that show that embracing for short periods of time these feelings, feeling down, feeling sad, feeling scared, right, is helpful because it helps you move through them, right? Many of these things you can't get around, although they'll tell you there's a pill that gets you around them or that you can suppress them so that they don't come up. The quickest way, relatively quick, it doesn't seem quick, but to get through these bad news or difficult times is to set off time. Like for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to sit here and hold my rock, and I'm going to set my timer on my phone so that it's just 10 minutes and I'm going to hold this rock and I'm not going to try and make myself happy or run away from this feeling. I'm just going to feel it. Yes. One of the gifts about getting older is that for many of us, it's easier to feel our feelings, right? When we're younger, we have a ton of energy and our minds think we have to suppress emotions. We suppress those emotions down and we can't feel them at all. We cut off from our feelings. But feelings are natural things, right? They're one way of your subconscious trying to communicate with you, right? Something's going on. We're feeling anxious. Something's going on. We're feeling sad or blue. And some people suppress them and it persists. What you resist persists. So consider trying a little short-term embracing of it. Yeah, I'm going to take my rock. It's not a rock, but I'm going to take my rock. I'm just going to sit here for the next 10 minutes and breathe and feel sad. And I may sit and just say, I am sad. I am so freaking sad. I can't believe this has happened. I'm going to miss them so much. A lot of deep breathing and trying not to run away from it, right? And then the alarm goes off and then you need to go do something to counteract that, right? You've experienced it. You're working it through your body. Let's go and balance that out a little bit, something that makes you happy, especially if it's something physical, a walk, a stretch, a little chair yoga, a little ice cream, whatever it is, right? Play with the animals, go buy yourself some flowers at Trader Joe's. They have nice cheap flowers. Yeah, does that make sense? A little double entendre there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Also in this new year, it's a time of making plans, right? Wintertime, there's not as many things growing. So it's a time of planning. In the gardener's world, it's the time of planning your garden, right? And that can be different for everybody, right? If you do not want to go out and till some land and plant things, there are other ways to plan your garden, right? Metaphorically, right? What does this 2025 hold for you? What do you want to start planting seeds in that could bear fruit in the future, right? Is anyone familiar with the phrase, to plant a seed is to believe in tomorrow? Yeah, and you don't have to gung-ho believe in tomorrow, but if you put a little seed in the ground, there's at least part of you that believes that that you may see it sprout. Yeah. So I'd like to do a planting exercise with you today. I have my little water bottle and I have my seeds. One moment. Grab some soil. Got my soil in here. Okay, so planting is all about metaphor, right? Planting seeds, planning for the future, all about metaphor. I would like good smelling things in my future. I love to eat, and I love to eat Italian food, especially. I want that in my future. Yeah, I want to be in the kitchen. I want to make things. I want to try to make pesto this year because I've never done it at all well, certainly. So I need to plant some basil. Yeah. So basil will be one of the things that I can plan for the future with the hopes that I'll get a plant and be able to do those things. So metaphorically, what do you want to see, to have in your life in March, April, May, right? Is it more friends? Is it, yeah, an activity, finding an activity that you really enjoy? Is it being active in a community or assisting others, right? So your metaphorical planting of seeds may be doing a search on the internet after this of places to volunteer, or the meetup groups. You go meetup.com. There is a meetup for everything under the sun. So if you are a herb enthusiast, yeah, you go up there and say plants and herbs and where I live, San Mateo, right? And no doubt things will pop up. We meet every second Saturday at the library in Burlington, game, that kind of stuff. So planting seeds are just making baby steps, tippy toe steps, right? Search it on the internet and then put it on the calendar, or shoot off an email, or call the number that's on there. Oh, there's this group that's happening. Oh, this person is doing this. Or reach out to a family member or a friend. Let's do brunch, right? How about when I'm pointing off into the distance here, I'm looking at my calendar. I have a calendar for the year and I love it, because then I can look and I plan my future there. I'm planting seeds for the future. I'm going to have brunch with you on February 1st at this place at this time, right? And I've got something on the calendar. I've just planted a seed. And brunch may be great or it may be challenging, but it's movement. There's what is it? The phrase be bold, movement, motion has magic within it. I'm butchering that phrase, but that's the gist of it. Be bold, movement. A lot of things can happen with just a little movement, right? So you don't have to do everything today, but do one thing today to plant a seed. So seed metaphors. Let's talk about seeds for a second, and because we're planting seeds. So little basil seeds are tiny. Look at those little guys. They're super duper tiny. And they're black or dark brown. They have this hard shell on them. Oh, and now they're in my keyboard. They have a hard shell on them. So seeds are nifty things. Yeah. Does anyone know what the oldest seed is? I may have mentioned it before. The oldest seed that was live ever found was 2,000 years old. They found it in a pharaoh's tomb, and it was a date seed for a type of date that had gone extinct. And they found it, I'm sure, in a jar in the pharaoh's tomb. They germinated it, and it grew into a full date palm. I looked that up on the internet. So the reason it could survive for 2,000 years is that it was covered in that hard shell. The things that go into any seed are a hard shell on the outside, and then a little bit of a nucleus, right? DNA that tells the seed what it's going to become. It's got the beginning of a root, the beginning of a leaf, and a little nutrient packet, right? To sustain the seed once it germinates, to send down that root to get nutrients, and to send up the leaf to get the rays of the sun. It's all ready to go, and it comes in a nice little hard shell. And it can stay a long time, right? And it's safe. These little seeds, they are safe from exposure by being inside their shell, but they can't become basil, right? They are meant to become basil. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take my little water and put it in my palm here. I really love this laptop stuff. This is great. So you can see I've got water Yeah, and my little basil seeds right in there. So exposing seeds, some seeds, to water gives them the opportunity as to whether they want to, take this opportunity to germinate. Yeah, they have to open up their shell and let that water in to stimulate the nucleus, the root, the leaf, to get the whole process started. But it's a big a big leap for a seed, because if the water doesn't come, if the moist soil doesn't come, it'll dry out, and that's it for that seed. Can't go back. Let's take a look at our basil seeds. Right? If you'll notice, they are not black anymore. They're turning gray, right? They're gray and a little fuzzy, like fuzzy white outer coats have formed on them. And that's because they have split open and begun to take in the water and swell and expand and started the germination process, right? The heat from my hand and the water we put there has started their germination. I was a part of that. And that's really special that I was part of nurturing these little tiny seeds and starting them off on their life to become big, right? Big basil plants. Mm. So now I'm going to take my little basil seeds that have started the germination process and put them in my soil right here and start them on their road. Yeah, keep them nice and moist. Start them on the road to a new life. Yeah, neat thing about doing that is that, you being a part of the process of life is exhilarating, right? Now, whether that's starting a seed in your kitchen, right? Or in your front yard, or helping a friend, or helping a grandchild or child. Um, I personally believe that we humans were made to live in service, right? And that finding ways to give service gives our life purpose. Yeah. And whether that's starting life here with plants, right? Or helping life that's already here along to grow and develop. All of us are here to lend a hand. Yeah. So you can start seeds, or even more nifty, you don't even have to get soil and start seeds. Here, I'll share this with you. These are herbs that grow without any soil at all, right? You can go down today to the grocery store and buy a pack of rosemary or thyme or oregano, get a batch of basil, or sage, or mint, and stick it in a jar of water, and then put it either in the direct sun or kind of in the indirect sun, right? Where it gets a lot of reflected light, but not necessarily direct light. And look at what happens. Big plants can grow. That looks like, oh, is that oregano? Thyme. That must be thyme over here because that looks like parsley. Huh. Maybe parsley should be on that list as well. Has anyone tried to grow parsley just in water? I'd be curious to know. And then you have your own fresh, your own fresh herbs right there in your garden that you are tending. Yeah. Um, mental health wise, it's important. Another reason that nurturing is important is that it gives you a reason to get up in the morning, right? Those of us with pets know about that. If I don't get up in the morning, my cats will get me up. They'll be right on my face. If I don't feed them, nobody will, right? I also have two pair of ducks, pet ducks, who, if I'm not out there changing their water, that is not going to go well for them. They will die. So I have a reason to get up. Important to do that. Oh, I have a question. Where do you buy the seeds? That's a really good question. Because if you live here on the peninsula, you are fortunate in that we've got all kinds of nurseries and local places. Renee's Seeds. One of Renee's packets. Um, Renee's Seeds is a local place. I think it's just down like in Moss Beach or something, but it's nationwide, but every seed you get from there is going to be healthy and strong. If you go to a nursery and buy seeds, you may well have healthy and strong seeds. I would stay away from the Depots and the Lowe's and places like that. You're going to get stronger seeds and little plants if you buy them from a nursery. You're also going to help a small business instead of a very large business that does not do well by its plants. Let's say that. They do a lot of nicotine stuff to keep the pests away, but it's not good for us and it's not really good for the plants. So if you have the chance, buy local, buy small, and Renee's is great. And as a horticultural therapist, Renee donates seeds to us. So there's a disclaimer. As I understand it, she gives to horticultural therapists. So, oh, forgot to put on my apron. Yeah, yeah. So having the as we look to the new year, right? I encourage you not to stay in what could be or what has happened, but to stay very much in the now and look into Beatrice has said, check out Seed Savers Exchange online. Thank you, Beatrice. I've got like 7 boxes of seeds and I've got a big yard, but I can't, maybe I'll do some Seed Savers Exchange. Thank you for helping me out. And my sweetheart thanks you as well, because there are boxes all over our house with seeds in them. Oh, there's also plant exchanges, usually in each town, if not each county. And in April 19th, the San Mateo Master Gardeners group, which is a fantastic group. If you've got time and you would like to know more, go to their website. It's a great course. You learn a lot, and then you are in service to other gardeners, which is just marvelous. April 19th, that is coming up, and you can buy all kinds of good stuff. Yeah. Check out local master gardeners in your state. Absolutely. And thank you, Randall, for those kudos. So as we're looking to the new year, what do you want to start now to see flower, to see produce results in the future? And as always, right, we talk a lot about having a black thumb or I kill plants, remembering that plants are their own critters and sometimes they turn up their toes, and move on into the compost part of their life, right? Our goal is to stay in the moment and to nurture, and sometimes the plant accepts it and sometimes they don't, and for us not to judge ourselves or our progress in that. It's simply the act of doing it, of nurturing, that's really going to help your mental health in the future. So I look forward to seeing you next month, and I'd love to hear about the seeds you plant this month in whatever way that works for you, and how they're coming to fruition. Yeah. How can we connect with you again? What a great question. Thank you for queuing me up there. So, oh, I have a moment. So every Thursday, I do a horticulture therapy and anxiety group here in my office called Grow Your Calm, Gardening for Anxiety Relief. And if you go to allevents.com and search for gardening up, I will pop. And then our office is this one. The office is in Redwood City. It's on Woodside Avenue, across from Woodside Plaza and the Ace Hardware at Woodside Plaza. We do in person and we do telehealth. So feel free to reach out. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much, Ellie. This has been so informative. Big
Love,
clap for you. Thank you.
thank you. You guys take care.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.